Perek Chaf Aleph, Mishnah Beis. This Mishnah deals with tiltul min hatzad, indirect movement of muktzah. Now, the halacha is that it is mutter to move muktzah objects in an indirect fashion, i.e. you're not actually directly touching the muktzah item, but rather you're moving a non-muktzah item, and in so doing, that moves a muktzah item. For example, the Mishnah discusses a case where you have a barrel of wine and a stone is on top of the barrel. And in certain situations it would be mutter to move, it would be permissible to move the actual barrel of wine or preferably to tilt off the stone, just to tilt the barrel so that the stone falls off. Now I'm not actually touching the stone, but rather I'm touching the barrel, which is not muktzah, and thereby the muktzah item, the stone, will fall off. That is called tiltul min hatzad. Now there are basically three conditions when it is mutter to do tiltul min hatzad. The first condition is that the purpose of moving the muktzah item is not for the benefit of the muktzah item, but for the benefit of the non-muktzah item. So for example, in the case of the barrel that we were discussing, if you have wine in the barrel that you want to access, and when you get to your storehouse, you get to your cellar, and you see that there's a stone on top of the barrel, so then you want to tilt the barrel to move the stone off. That tiltul min hatzad, that indirect movement of muktzah, is permitted because it's not for the benefit of the stone, but rather it's in order to access the non-muktzah item, i.e. the wine in the barrel. But if it was for the benefit of the stone, you wanted the stone away, or if there was some money on there and you wanted to protect the money, then it would not be allowed. Tiltul min hatzad has got to be for the benefit of the non-muktzah item. That's number one. Number two, the tiltul min hatzad is that you should preferably tilt the item off. So again, if you have the stone on top of the barrel, preferably you should tilt the barrel so that the stone falls off. If that cannot be done, then you would be allowed to pick up the barrel with the stone on it and move it away. But preferably you should tilt it, as we'll see in the Mishnah. The third rule is that the muktzah item that was left on this non-muktzah item, for example the stone on the barrel, was left there inadvertently. He did not intend to place it there. If he intended to place it there, it's a much more serious problem. It's a problem of bosses, i.e. that you've put the stone, for example, to hold down the top of the barrel, the lid. So if you place the stone intentionally on top of the barrel, then the barrel itself, the non-muktzah item, it becomes a bossis l'dava ha'asa. It becomes a base for the muktzah item, and the whole barrel becomes muktzah. So the three conditions, if they are met, then you're allowed to do tiltul min hatzad. Number one, it's for the benefit of the non-muktzah item. Number two, it's preferable to tilt off the muktzah item first. And number three, that it was not left there intentionally. In those situations, if those conditions are met, then tiltul min hatzad is acceptable. So that's the introduction to this Mishnah. However, says the Mishnah, a stone which is placed on top of a barrel, mater al tzidah, you are allowed to tilt it on its side, so that the stone falls off. Now if, however, the barrel, you went to your cellar and there were lots of barrels there and it was sort of squashed in amongst lots of barrels and therefore tilting it is not an option, so then magbiya umato al tzidah v'hinafeles, then it would be permissible to actually lift up the barrel and to move it away and then tilt it off. So in other words, preferably you should tilt it off. If that is not possible, then it's mutter to actually carry it up and move it away and then tilt off the muktzah item. Continues the Mishnah. Mois shel hakar, money which is left on a pillow. Noyer es hakar vehin noiflos. Again, you're allowed to tilt, to sort of shake the pillow, and the money will fall off. Now here the Bartanura says the following comment. Noyer es hakar vehin noiflos. You're allowed to shake the pillow and the money will fall off. Kashehut tzorich lekar, when I need the cushion. Ve'ein tzorich lemokum hakar. I need the cushion, but I don't need the place of the cushion itself. But if it's a situation where I need the place of the pillow, i.e. I want to go to sleep, for example, and there's a pillow there with some muktzah items on it, then then it will be permitted to actually lift up the pillow and move it away so I can then go to sleep on the bed. But if it was just I needed just the pillow, then you should tilt off the pillow. Then it says that's what the Mishnah means noye sakar vehin noifres. But if I need the space itself, then I should be magbia the kara. Then I should lift the pillow and remove it. Continues the Mishnah. Hoysa olov lishleshes. If there was some filth, some dirt on top of the pillow, the Bartanura says it's some sort of spit or some sort of excrement, whatever it was, some filth on top of the pillow. Mekancha besmartut. You're allowed to wipe it off with a rag. Even the actual thing is mukta, but since I'm doing a tiltum and outside, I'm not directly touching the mukta, and it's for the benefit of the car. I need the pillow. So then I'm allowed to clean it with a smartut, to wipe it off with a rag. Now the Bartanura qualifies this from the Gemara, and the Bartanura says, "V'lo yitin aleha mayim." What I shouldn't do is that I shouldn't saturate and pour water onto this smartut, this beged, this rag. The stam kar shall beged, because if I pour water onto the pillow in order to remove the dirt, then I'm going to saturate the beged, the actual material that the pillow is made out of, and beged shriyosah b'mayim zeh kibusay. And the Gemara tells us that shriyosah, saturating a beged, is a form of laundering. So therefore, if I'm not allowed to take a rag and saturate it and on Shabbos, and so too I couldn't pour water on top of this car, on top of this pillow, because a stum pillow is made out of canvas, or some sort of beged, some sort of material, and therefore I've violated the rule of shriyosah zehu kibusay. I've saturated the beged, the material, and therefore I've transgressed the malacha of libun, of laundering. However, hoysa shel if the pillow was made out of a leather material, which is not going to absorb the water, it's a fabric which does not absorb the water, then it would be mutter to pour water on top of the leather pillow and just to wash away the filth that is on it, because there's no problem, it's not absorbing it, and there we do not say shriyosah zehu kibusay, because it's not saturated, it doesn't become saturated. But again, the Bartanura just qualifies that as follows: shel the lav bar kibusu, because it's not a material which you're going to launder. Then then it will be mutter to just pour water on top of it until the filth removes. Aval kibus mamish loy, but what you mustn't do, even with a leather one, is to actually sort of rub it together and to sort of wash it. Since these pillows, even if they're made out of leather, are going to be of soft material, that is considered laundering if you were to sort of vigorously rub it together. But merely pouring water on top of it, that would be permitted. That is the end of Mishnah Base.